Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If this is your first time watching, well, you haven't missed much because this is only the second video, so welcome. My name is Annie and it's spelled yes with one N, hence the YouTube channel name. Thank you for joining me today. As I said on the last video, today I'd be talking about when I got diagnosed with depression, anxiety, and bipolar disorder. It's quite the story. It was quite a roller coaster. So I'll just get on to it. When I was probably in the second year of college, so approximately 3 years ago or 4 years ago. 3 years ago, I got diagnosed with anxiety and depression. I was diagnosed by my primary physician. He was the one who, I talked to him about how I was feeling, how I didn't really have the energy, I felt fatigue, and then really I just thought, hey, maybe I'm missing some sort of vitamin or a mineral or something in my body that's why it's not working right. So, that's why I went to the doctor, and then I told him about the, I guess, anxiety I was having, but at the time I didn't call it anxiety. I just said how sometimes I felt like everything was like racing through my head, all my thoughts, and I couldn't stop thinking, and I couldn't function correctly because all of that was happening, and it was just speeding through my mind. I don't have more than one. Through my mind. um, and so he's like, I really think you probably suffering from some depression and anxiety. At the time, I was doing very well in school. It wasn't affecting my school yet. I have always been very determined when it comes to school. I have always been on point with my schoolwork, making sure my grades were high. They were high, but I feel like they could have always been higher. And by high, I mean I had an A, but I could have had like an A plus. I could have been completely above and beyond, but there was always something holding me back. I felt stressed, I felt fatigued. At the same time, I just kept worrying about everything and anything, to be honest, especially school and life and family. So he's like, yeah, I think you have anxiety and depression, so we're going to put you on some Prozac or fluoxetine. He's like, you're going to feel better. First, I wasn't sure if I wanted to take the medication. I mean, my mom, she wasn't too keen on the idea of me taking medications as well. Because there's the stories of people becoming addicted to it, and then it's worse. The withdrawal is worse than when you were on it and all these things. But the doctor was like, no, this medication, it shouldn't really cause withdrawals like that, and it's really going to help you have a better life. It's going to give you that bump you need to feel happy, that little extra step in your walk, I guess, to where I would feel good. And then so I started taking the medication, and for a bit I did feel better. I was feeling I was feeling better. I didn't have that emptiness, that deep sadness in me, because that was one of the other things I had. It was just a sadness in my heart. And honestly, for as long as I can remember, I'm probably like 13, 14, and I'm feeling this great deep sadness in my heart, like an emptiness, like a void that I didn't know how to fill up, and my days felt gray. Some of my days, a lot of time, felt gray. And so that's how, the doctor was able to say, yeah, it was some depression. And so the fluoxetine did help, the Prozac. It helped for a little bit, but it just wasn't it. And then it started not getting worse, but in a way, yeah, my symptoms started to worsen. Um, I would, it was a roller coaster. That's how I can describe it. And you have to take into account, this is right now I'm 25, but at that time I was probably 22, 21. Everything had been an issue before, though. I just didn't quite know how to put it into words. And so sometimes I would be very like, I would just be on top of the world. Like, I can do this, I can conquer it, I am the best. Like, wow, I am the big deal. There's nothing I can't do. And I would have this ton of energy. And at night, I would stay up super late because I just had all this creation, inspired creativity in my head, and I just had to get it all out. So I would draw, I would paint, I would make poems, and it would be like 3, 4 in the moment. I didn't need any sleep. And then this would happen for days. I maybe if I just had 2 hours of sleep, 3 hours of sleep, I'd be good to go. Um, and in school, and oh, it was great. And I was chatty Cathy. I would talk to strangers. I would just all these things, that I could do. People could tell I was having a great day, and that vibe and energy, I just totally would, it would affect other people, and they would feel it, and they would feel like alive. I felt alive, and I loved it. But I at the same time, when I was feeling like that, my thoughts were like going 1,000 miles per hour. And then I would start a new hobby. I would go and spend a whole bunch of money on supplies for this new hobby, and I didn't care. I was just filled with energy, and then after that, I would just crash. I would crash, and I felt this emptiness again, this big hole, this void. It was like a cloud that would come over my head, and I no longer wanted to continue my new hobby. I I just didn't. I just wanted to sleep, and I would sleep, and I would sleep all day, and then I wouldn't really do my work, my schoolwork. I would still do it, but it would take so much energy because for me, school has always been super important. So it was the only thing I did. I just had enough energy to do my schoolwork, and then that was it. I couldn't do anything else. My friends, I didn't talk to my friends. Um, I didn't talk to people. Honestly, sometimes I didn't even want to shower. I didn't fix my hair. I just wanted to stay in bed. And if my professors would allow me to stay in bed, I would have stayed in bed. And then I would cry sometimes out of nowhere. And then I was like, I felt insecure. I felt scared, and the racing thoughts were still there. And this went on for a while, and sometimes it would be very rapid, meaning in one day I would feel both emotions. I would be high, and then I'd be low, and then I'd be happy, and then when I was happy, I wanted to do all these things and hang out with my friends and fall in love. I would get crushed on people. I would crush on a guy, and then whenever that was gone and I was back into the press, I was like, not interested in them anymore. I didn't want anything to do with it. And I would make all these plans when I was feeling happy and on top of the world. And when the time came, and if I was feeling low, it was like, I was like, oh, I do not want to do this. I don't want to do this. I can't do this. And that went on for a while, just a back and forth, back and forth. And that is the classic symptoms of bipolar 2 disorder. You have your manics or your mania, or your hypermania, which is when you feel like you're on top of the world. Some people become very sexualized. So I know a story of a girl who had bipolar disorder, and whenever she was having a manic episode, she would go and strip, be a stripper for the night. And then, of course, once she came down for her mania, she would feel really bad about it, and she would feel horrible with her life. And I kept having those ups and those downs. There were ups and down, up and down, over and over and over and over again. And it made me seem like a person who would change her mind a lot. But it's because on my good days, on my happy days, on my manic day, which is like elevated mood, I would say yes, I would be this person. I I could conquer the world. And then when my depression hit, which is the depressive episodes, which is going down, then it's like I couldn't anymore. I would say no. I would be late. I wouldn't turn in my work. Although with schoolwork, I always tried my best. It was the only thing I had strength for. On my good days, I would study my lesson and I would start on this new spiritual journey with God, and it would be great, and I would preach, and I would study my Bible, spend time with God, all that good stuff, and pray. And then my depression would hit, and then I would slowly stop praying as much and slowly stop reading my Bible, and it just kept going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I can't even start to explain how much that back and forth affected me, because I felt like I was going crazy. I really felt like I was going crazy. Like my mind wasn't right. I wanted something to hold on to, and the only thing I could hold on to, because that back and forth would get to me, and it gave me anxiety, because then when I felt that I was going to have a manic episode, that I started feeling good, I'd be like, oh no, it's going to happen, and I'm going to make terrible decisions, and I'm going to make friends, and I'm going to say yes to dates, or to start texting, maybe if a guy wants to text me, I'll say yes, or I'll take on some work at church, or I'll tell my mom I'll help her with something. And I'm like, no, because then my depression is gonna hit, and I'm gonna stop doing all of those things. And I would become so anxious, and I couldn't control it, and I would feel it happen, and I just couldn't control it, and I wanted to hang on to something, and the only thing I could hold on to was Jesus. He was the only thing that was constant in my life. Even in my depressive episodes, when I couldn't when I didn't have the strength to open my Bible, I would pray. I was like, God, help me, help me. So this went on for a while, and it would happen even before I got diagnosed with depression and anxiety. So maybe the highs and the lows started when I was entering into adulthood. And then, like I said, it's classic bipolar 2 disorder. And a lot of these disorders start happening or start developing when you go into adulthood. So, like late teens into adulthood. Of course, some people it's a lot earlier, and some people it's later on in life that they get diagnosed. But that's usually how it happens. And so that's what I was suffering from. And I didn't get diagnosed with that until 2 years ago. By then, I was on my last semester of school, because I stayed in school a lot longer than I needed to, mainly because I was taking advantage of the fact that my school was paid for, and I was like, let me take more classes. Maybe I had two majors. I was like, maybe I could go for a minor. Maybe I can go for a third major. I loved school, so that's why I was still there. And then all of those ambitions just came crashing down because I couldn't take it anymore, and I stopped having the strength. The manic and depressive episodes was just constant. Like in a week, it was just like up and down, 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 nonstop. And it was driving me crazy, and I just couldn't do it. And I was I was slowly closing myself. I was slowly losing it. I felt like I was losing it, um losing my grasp on reality. I would cry. I would sit in my car, and I would just sit there, and I wouldn't go to class. I couldn't. I dropped all my other classes. I had 5 classes. I've always had like 4 or 5 classes. I dropped all 4 classes, and I only kept my physics class, the hardest class. And also in my really, really low times, I would go to my mom's room, and she would pray for me, and she would say psalms, and she would just rub my back, and I would just lay down with her, and she would just pray, and I would just be quiet, or I would just cry until I finally fell asleep, because I had many sleepless nights. many nights where I just couldn't sleep because of my brain constantly just going back and forth, and the anxiety that was like completely getting to me. I could not sleep. And then I would just go to my mom, "Are you awake?" Or I'd wake her up. I'm like, "Mom, I can't sleep." And then I'm like, "Please, let me sleep with you." And then I would lay down and she would rub my back, massage my back. And she would tell me lots of songs from the Bible. And I would fall asleep, finally, after struggling all night. And so last year, I brought other things to the attention of my therapist, because I had a therapist. I've had a therapist for a very long time. I don't have him anymore, but I had him for years. And such as my spending, when I would have manic episodes, I would want to spend. I'd start new hobbies. I'd talk to guys. Yes, okay, I'm a girl. I'm human. I would talk to guys. Like, I would flirt, and I was cute and all this stuff, and guys liked me, because I was like this bubbly. I was so ebullient. It was like people liked me when I was like that. And then when I felt depressed, I didn't want to talk to anyone. I didn't like any of the guys. I regretted talking to them. I regretted making friends with them. I regretted all the purchases I had made, mainly because I was going broke, and not wanting to take care of myself. So so I brought all of this to the attention of my therapist, and then he's like, "Yes, you are what your symptoms are classic symptoms of bipolar 2 disorder." And so finally, I had an answer to my troubles, because for so long I had that going on, and nobody really made a diagnosis. I wasn't too aware of my behaviors to be able to talk to my therapist about them. Maybe that would have made for an earlier diagnosis. But what started happening is I took some classes on mental illness, on different mental disorders called abnormal behavior. And then slowly I started going down the list. It's like, I have something. It's not just depression. It's not just anxiety. This is something else, and I need to figure out what it is. So that, so we went down the list, and I kept going down the list. I was like, this, no, I don't think this is what I have. This, I don't think this is what I have. Oh, this might be what I have. Like that, until I was like, I think I have bipolar 2 disorder, mixed with ADHD actually on top of that. And the ADHD is a whole different story. Okay, people will tell you I talk too fast. I interrupt a lot. I also, a lot of times I have a hard time concentrating, especially when people are talking to me. My mind just wanders away, and it'll get people frustrated. I don't mean to. It just happens. I just can't control it. So I had all these things, that really came out in my adulthood, when I started my adulthood, and so it was really messing with me. But thank God, because it is God is the only person that I can thank for me being here right now. Um, I was able to finish college. I graduated with honors, the double major in psychology, major in Spanish for business translations. I graduated with honors on both majors, and I'm still here, and I'm still struggling, and but I'm not giving up yet, and I'm sure there's so many people with similar stories, which is why I wanted to share mine. Now, medications. When I first started taking the first medication that I was given, I gained a lot of weight, and also I had light sensitivity and extreme fatigue. I could not stay awake. I couldn't stay awake at all. And those were things I dealt with, and I had to switch medications and switch medications until I found the perfect mix. I only take 2 medications, well, 3 right now. I was taking more, but I wanted to go down to fewer medications, and some medication will help you in more than one area. So I'm taking 3 medications. One is it's a mood regulator, which is for the bipolar disorder, and it helps with my manic episodes, so I don't have those manic episodes where I'm like, ooh, on top of the world. let's spend some money. So I'm not like that. And then it also helps with my depression. And then I have another medication that is for my anxiety. Now, oh, and the third medication is for my ADHD. It does help me concentrate, and it gives me energy enough to concentrate on things and to get things done. So I wish I didn't have to take medication. That has always been my biggest prayer, asking the Lord to just heal me so I don't have to take medication. You know, this I'll make this into another video about the whole praying to God and mental illness. You know what? That could be my next video, mental illness and God. Um, and I really wish I didn't have to take medication. I have stopped my medications many times, just like that, cold turkey. I don't get any withdrawals. I don't get any brain zaps, which just feels like electricity in your brain and stuff like that. Good thing these medications in particular aren't addictive, I guess, because, well, I'm fine when I don't take them. But what ends up happening is I start getting the symptoms again. So I'll get an incessant worrying, like I'm doing something wrong or there's something I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm just worrying, like, what did I forget? Did I forget something? Am I doing something wrong? Like, am I in trouble? Anxiety, basically. So that's what happens when I don't take my anxiety medication, and I'll start worrying, and I feel like I gotta run, and I'll get anxiety attacks sometimes that could lead to a panic attacks, which I've had before too. But I'll get anxiety attacks where my heart is just racing, and then I don't know why, and I'm like, I just want to get out of here and run. So yeah, and when I don't take my bipolar medication, well, you can already guess, I get those manic episodes, and I get the very, very depressive episodes as well. So for now, I have to take them. Um, sometimes I wonder, God, why don't you just heal me already? You know, um you made so many miracles in the Bible, so why can't you make one more? And I've come to the conclusion in my walk with God that he knows what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing. In the Bible, one time where the apostle Paul, he was like, Lord, please take this thing I have in my eye. I'm not 100% sure what it was, but it was like a scale. He couldn't see well, I guess, or something was wrong. But the way he described it was, please take this out of my eye. I could serve you better without it. And the Lord told him, hey, bro, my grace is sufficient for thee, meaning my grace is enough for you. And that Bible verse has really stuck with me. Because when I start to say, Lord, why can't you just heal me? Why can't you just heal this? And I remember, oh, his grace is enough for me. And that might not be the answer you're looking for, but it's an answer enough for me. He knows exactly what I'm getting from going through this, the growth that is happening in my mind, the way that I'll be able to relate to many out there when I finally have my career in mental illness as a counselor. He knows how much my faith will grow, and it's growing from having to depend on him in the good times and in the bad times, because I still have those bad times. I'm not completely free of my mental illness. Just last month, it was a really, really hard month where just all days felt cloudy, and I felt empty, and I felt dead inside. But even in those times, I have to learn to praise God. Even in those times, you have to find a reason to be grateful, because I am still alive, and I have a wonderful husband, and I have a wonderful family, and I have a wonderful dog too. His name is Phoenix. Um, and you'll probably meet him in another video. And you just have to find things to be grateful for. And you have to find the will to keep going. And all of that, the only place where I can find any of that is in Jesus. It's true. Maybe he hasn't completely healed me He hasn't healed me of my mental illness, but he has healed me from other things in life, from trauma, which we'll talk about in another video. And so I'm just grateful for him. I'm grateful to him, and I can't stop believing, because he has shown that he exists in my life every day. Just being here, being able to tell you the story, being able to relate to many out there, is the proof of that. And for that, I'm grateful. Well, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for hearing my story. Do you have a similar story about being diagnosed? Did it take too long? Were you diagnosed at the right time? What about medications? Do you guys take medications? Wish didn't take medications but kind of have to? What are some of the stories you guys have? Just put it down in the comment section. I'd love to read them and see that I'm not the only one. So thank you so much for your time. And for the next video, let's talk about God and mental illness. Yeah? Like, what's up, right? So God and mental illness, his role in my life, okay, and his role in general in every person's life. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.